Tonight, so I wanted to get on and tell you guys a story. My company, Reveal, just released their newest Candles for a Cause candle. The newest candle is called the American Hero, and it is a military candle. And I wanted to touch base on this because sorry, this is bothering me. I don't really come from a military family per se, but I kind of do in a sense. I have an uncle on my dad's side who fought in the war. I have an uncle on my mom's side who fought. I have a cousin who, is actually in active duty currently, who, is traveling from base to base. And I had a great-grandfather who passed away in World War II. It's going to take a lot out of me to talk to you guys about this story because I have never really opened up about this before. Those of you who really know me know that I'm very, very close with my grandma. My grandma on my mom's side, I grew up very, very close with. She's like my second mom in a lot of ways. She had her father pass away in World War II. She has a very vague memory of him because she was 3 years old when it happened. So she grew up in a family who, really, she had a mom who was a widow her whole life. And they had 4 kids? I don't remember now. My brain is shot. But regardless, back in that day, being a widow, you had to fend for yourself. You had to provide for your family. And she lived through that. I remember since the day I can remember things, she, collected patriotic stuff and anything and everything that had a flag on it, was in her house, from candles to, tablecloths to picture frames to her whole hallway had memorabilia, I guess, kind of from her dad. And she even actually just recently, within the last 10 years, I think, had gone to the governor of Iowa, which I'm originally from, and someone told her to go do this because she never really knew this was a thing. She went and got his war medals. And I told her, if there's anything that I get from you when you pass away, I call those war medals. Like that's what I want. So kind of backtracking here, but back in 2001, she was actually set to go over to France, where where her father's grave is, in the Epinal cemetery. It's not in Normandy. It's actually on the other side of France, but it's an American soil cemetery over there. She has in her house pictures lined up of this cemetery and the exact picture of his gravestone. And, she, like I said, her whole house is filled with this kind of stuff. But 2001, she was set to go over there. And cat's crying, or my cat's meowing because she knows I'm crying. My uncle, or my great uncle, who is her brother, actually got diagnosed with terminal cancer. So they had to halt the trip, and he ended up passing away, and she never made it over there. And she never made it over there, and I promised her for so long that I would take her there. I'm sorry, I told you guys, if you want to see me really cry, this is what's gonna do it. And like I said, I told her a long, long time ago that there was gonna be a day that comes where I'm gonna be able to bring you there. And I promised her, before you die, I'm gonna bring you there. And, it hasn't happened yet, but I want to make that happen. These military candles, I have a incredible surprise up my sleeve where I'm going to submit her story, and I'm going to submit her story on one of the cards that come with the candle, and I'm going to ask if she wants to go with me to France.
Yeah, more support. There's one more present. I'm going to step over top of you. It's going to be really hard for me to do. Because it's been about 20 years in the making. Oh. say that. I knew I wouldn't get through this.
Well, you told me not to cry at your wedding, and you cried. I didn't.
Yep, well, that's true. Okay,
Your wedding.
so first of all, this has been a present that's been about 20 years in the making. And I'll have you open it first because the jewelry company that I work for kind of helped me with this in a sense. So I'll have you open it first and then we'll go from there. So you just open it first.
Precious.
So it's a military candle, and when we originally planned this, I didn't know that this was coming out. Evan and I decided a long time ago, and Madison knew this.
That made me cry.
But when this candle came out, they had, every time someone purchased a candle, you would get a story with the candle of someone that was in the military, or someone that had been in the military, and that's why we needed your picture.
Remember? I came and got it from you. Pretty nice.
Well, that's not all of it.
Not all of it.
So then it comes with a story, and I'll read this because you probably can't see it. Okay, it says, I'm sorry, I'm shaking. I would love to share a very personal story of my grandmother, Janet. Her father passed away in World War II when she was just 3 years old. Ever since that I can remember, she has had her whole home decorated and everything patriotic, had songs written about her dad, war medals lying in her house, etc. With her and her siblings so young when he had passed, her mother was forced to be a widow at a very young age and provide for her family by herself in the 1940s. My grandma actually had a chance to visit her father's grave in Epinal Cemetery in France back in 2001 with her siblings, and unfortunately her brother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, which meant putting a halt to their trip. He ended up passing away shortly after, and my grandmother was never able to make the once-in-a-lifetime trip to see her dad. I promised her for 17 years that I would take her there to see her dad's grave, a man that she truly never got to know. And I'm taking the opportunity to allow her story to be known because, like a lot of other military family members, you just never know when a final day may come. She always has and will be a second mom to me, and I'm asking her right here and right now, Grandma, I'd be honored if you finally be able to go to France with me, and I want to take you to see your dad.
Nice.
Very nice.
So I'd like to bring you next year to France.
This is really nice.
Your glasses are all fogged up.
I don't want to. Anybody got Kleenex?
So Madison and I talked about this back in in May. Evan and I have been talking about this for years, but Madison knew about it since April. We were talking about it while we were in New York. And Madison cried at the table with me while we were talking about it. And I said, we just have to make it happen this year, so then we made it happen.
Well, I'm shocked.
Do you remember when I promised you that so long ago?
Yeah, I remember.
I've kicked myself for so many years that I never was able to do it.
I know. I've sat here with Dean many nights saying, somehow Mom has to get there to see where her dad was, to put closure to it all, and she just has to.
Well, we almost did. It was like, it was getting closer to the time, and I was thinking, my dad's spirit's going to be at his grave when we get there. Just like that field of dreams. If you, how did they say that phrase?
You build it, they'll come.
If you build it, they will come. And I just had that feeling, and then Jim got worse, and we were 2 weeks, I think, from going. We were everything ready but packed. And then 9/11 happened, and we were supposed to go 5 days after that. We probably wouldn't have went anyway. But I wanted to tell Jim, because he felt bad that it was his reason that we didn't go, because he was dying. And I told him before he had an MRI, you know, Jim, maybe that plane we were going to ride would have crashed in the air and we wouldn't have been on it. And here 9/11 happened. There was a plane that crashed. It was weird. I wonder if they
Well, I'll have you know that like 200 people also got this card, so they also read that story.
Oh. And so did you get more of them?
Yeah, I have
Those
them. Well,
cards? Cool.
okay, hold on. Everybody gets a candle. I got a lot of them.
Candles. And
Who wants candles? You guys already got one.
And they give them the thing too.
I will. Hold on.
And tell them the most important thing, it's not just a military candle either.
So the candles, when people bought them, every time, and I actually packaged these this week. That's why I was in Nashville. Every time, did you get one?
Yep.
You got one? Yep. Did you get one to Dean? Every time someone got one, or every time someone purchased one, a package got donated to someone who was deployed. And we packaged them this weekend, so it was a lot of like essentials, razors, food, stuff like that. Got donated, so that was it was a really cool. It was a really cool thing, and we actually got to package them, and that's where I got the cards.
So yeah, I just got the
What?